Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth from Kasiwa82. Thank you so much for stopping by. The other day I was at Michael's and I found that their traveler's notebook, the Boho Bohemian line, was actually on discount for, I think I ended up paying $2 or $3 for each one. And I wanted to just get a sense, I'm kind of a DIY person. I tend to make my own traveler's notebook, as you can see from my channels, and actually all my journals I tend to make my own. Or most of them anyway. And what I wanted to do was just kind of try the covers, because I like the covers and I just wanted to see the size. So I picked up two of them. Like I said, I think they were $2 or $3, something like that, on clearance. And it's the, I don't think that'll focus, but the Boho Bohemian string journal. They originally, I think, sold for $15 US. So a couple of things about it. One, I do not like this closure. I tend to like the elastic closure. There's something about this closure that kind of annoys me. And two, I know people love to have charms on their traveler's notebook kind of when it's closed like that. Okay? That also is something that tends not to work for me. I've tried it in a couple of journals, and the reason it doesn't work for me is I tend to work writing down like this, and a lot of times, see that tends to get in the way when I'm writing. There's kind of like this lumpy thing. So anyway, what I ended up doing is these journals come with a 2-pack of books, one in craft paper and one in white paper, and they're connected with this really thick elastic that, that's how they attach to the traveler's notebook. Again, not a fan of the thick elastic. I like the elastic actually for other purposes probably, but for this, again, if you think about writing in this book, see that? In that spine area, there's this really thick lump which will not work for me. So what I decided to do was, deconstruct it and make it my own, right? So let me just move some of this stuff away. I have an upcoming trip to Las Vegas, and what I decided to do was to use this cover, and I took the middle, the enclosure strap out, and I'm going to end up replacing that with one of my thinner plastic cords, kind of like this. I don't mind the charms, but what I might end up doing is using them as bookmarks, at the end of bookmarks, as opposed to as part of the enclosure. We'll see. So for the journal to Las Vegas, what I did was I took the craft folder. I'm not used to working, a whole journal in colored paper. So two things. One, I figured I'd try the craft paper and just see how that would work for me. And two, if you follow me on any of my social media sites, you know that I tend to like my journals to be 9 by 6. Okay, so what that effectively is a 12 by 9 sheet of paper folded in half. That tends to be the size I like because I tend to write a lot. You want to see how much I write? I will post a link down below to my Turkey travel journal in case you haven't seen that. I write a lot. So I'm not sure how this narrow format's going to work for me. I kind of like it, but I guess I figured in rather than making it a long extended use project, I could do it for a week trip and just, I'll know at the end of the week how much I like working with this journal, this size, this format, which is, I think, the classic Midori regular size, which always seems really narrow to me with not enough writing space. Anyways, so I went ahead and I did some testing with various supplies just to see, for the trip, what would work on this paper and what wouldn't. And it turns out that pretty much everything does. It doesn't love watercolors, so anything that's wet, it dried fairly fine, but I don't think I'm going to end up taking any watercolors with me. But as you can see, pretty much my Sharpies work. Sharpie Metallic works really well. Distress ink works. Stays-on ink works, which I was really surprised by because Stays-on tends to bleed through almost anything else that I have. Markers work fine. Artist pens, Pitt pens, all of those work fine. The only thing that I found actually bled a little bit was the Sharpie Fine Point, the Sharpie Fat Fine Point. That seemed to, it didn't bleed, but there's a bit of ghosting. It doesn't really bother me, but anyway, just wanted to keep track of what works and what doesn't work. I think for this trip, I'm going to take primarily dry media. I'll post a link hopefully before I go on this trip, so that you can see what supplies I'm taking with me. I'm kind of going minimal with this particular trip. So anyway, I took this, so this is the cover that I'm going to be using. There's going to be some modifications to it, as I said before. Let me put that aside. So what I did is I took this craft folder, and I am not a fan of staples. I don't like them. I prefer my signatures stitched. Part of the problem I have with staples is they don't hold up well as the book starts to fatten. And, all of our journals, if you add anything other than just ink to it, pen and ink to it, both will fatten, which puts a lot of stress on that spine. The other thing is, if you're using a traveler's notebook and you decide that you are going to use an insert with staples, I would highly recommend putting some washi tape or something down the middle, because this eventually will start to fray the elastic that's in the middle, right? Because that elastic is basically getting rubbed against this metallic piece all the time. So what I did is I took this craft folder, or the craft insert that came with it. I'll talk about the cover in a second. And what I did was I took out the staples and I stitched it. Now, unfortunately, I've already gone ahead and covered the spine with some washi, but what I did is I basically took the craft folder, took out the staples, and I treated it as though it was a 5-hole signature that I was binding with the pamphlet stitch. Now, again, if you look at my channel, I tend to bind almost all my signatures with a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. Very simple. Do a search on YouTube. You can find hundreds of videos that show you how to do that. And what I normally do is I use the top and the bottom as one of the holes. Since I already had 4 holes here, right, 2 from each one of these staples, I did something different. I just put my center hole here, and it's 5 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's how I just did a pamphlet stitch, and that's that. I decided to, again, going through my stash. This is one of my use up my stash projects. Anyway, I have these back when I was doing paper scrapbooking. These Too Busy Mom sticker sheets. I think I used some of these along the way, but the rest are still here. So I decided to go ahead and use, I think this is the chocolate letter stickers in my journal. So the cover, the dates, and you'll see the dates are basically stamped with that. There's a video on my channel, and I'll post a link down below, of how I used sticker remnants to create these images using basically a Sharpie marker and sticker remnants, which is great. Again, didn't cost me anything. I have all the stuff in my stash anyway. And so then I took the journal itself. The craft insert comes with 7 pages of craft paper. So it's 7 pieces folded in half. So you end up with 14. And as I was going through and binding it, the idea of, again, I have never worked in a full journal that has just colored paper. So I started getting anxiety about just having colored paper. So I decided to interweave each craft spread with some of my Tomoe River paper, which I love. I got a stash of, might as well use it. Plus it gives me some white. That just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. I don't know why, but there you have it. So what I did was I wanted to use this entire insert during the trip, right? So what I do when I tend to do that kind of planning is I go ahead with sticky notes and just assign a certain number of pages for each day. That way, right, so you can see here's day 17, this is when that starts, here's day 16. I just basically pre-plan how many pages I'm going to use per day. I might use all of them, I might not, and then if I don't, I can put photos or something else in them, but this way I don't have all this empty paper at the back. The amount I write, that's usually not a problem, but just in case, it gives me a better way to just kind of, chart my progress along the way as well. So stickers that mark the day. I used one of my, hold on one second. Okay, so one of these old date stamps, it expired in I think it's 2012, and stays on. A pad of stays on, not stays on, a pad of a distress ink pad, okay? So the thing is, okay, so this thing expired in 2012. So if I was to just keep dates, it wouldn't work because, you know, I in 2016 and I don't have a 2016 and I could go buy another one, which I eventually might. This is from Staples. But what I ended up doing is there are all these other words that you could use. So for example, entered, answered, received, sent, whatever. Pick one, use that. The other option to do is when you're stamping it, just have a piece of paper here so that does not show up in case you want to just reuse supplies that are date sensitive that might have expired. Just another tip for you there. Okay, so basically, if you just take a look at this, I'll just do a quick flip through of a before. This is about how much prep work I get done before I go on a trip. I might add some color to the Tomoe River paper before I go. Depends on how much time I have. We'll see. But the other thing I wanted to do is I'll post a link down below on a journal I have and a video I have on my channel about how to do quick journaling that captures kind of your day. And so take a look at that journal, take a look at that video. It'll show you exactly how I go ahead and fill in this box as time goes on each day, okay? But that'll be a way for me to capture that. And then basically this is just what it looks like. It's just different days with the white paper. I kind of put some of that, using that sticker paper stencils. There you go. So stamps with stays on work really well, which I am really surprised with this paper. So let's see, that's Monday. So I just have this in here. I haven't removed the sticky notes yet because I'm not sure if I'm going to make a note of what day it is, like what number of days on the trip yet. I haven't decided that, so it's just there until I decide it. Tuesday, and that's the last day that I'm coming home. Okay, so I'm probably going to do a little bit more decoration. I think I want to have a travel quote of some kind on the back maybe, and what I'm planning on doing on the inside, front, and back covers is maybe doing some collaging with the ephemera that I pick up along the trip. So that's what it looks like pre-trip. It's going to go into this journal, this traveler's notebook cover, once I, get the whole thing finished. I usually, when I make a travel journal, I tend to have either envelope pockets or clear plastic pockets that I stick things in. I'm not doing that this time. I just basically made, again, a DIY folder. This is a 12 by 12 cardstock. I just cut it to match this size of notebook. The bottom kind of folds up, which is this bottom here. And then what I ended up doing was just using some washi tape to close up this side, right? Because when the bottom folds up, there's a space there. So this will just, I got things that will fit in there. And just put some stickers on the inside pockets, and on the outside pockets. Anytime I'm traveling, I tend to find there's always places that have postcards of various kinds for free, or that are promotional postcards, and a lot of the images on those are kind of fun. So what I just did was take a couple of those postcards, just cut out a pocket, and then just stuck them on. So I wanted this to be I didn't want washi tape because I didn't want to cover up the image, so I used packing tape on the sides and the bottoms of these. So that's what seals this pocket up in the front. So here's what it's going to look like, and like I said, eventually it'll kind of fit in there, as you know, with the Traveler's Notebook system. I will also be making a insert this size with either sketchbook paper or grid paper, because I'm only taking this particular notebook with me, so You know, I thought about using this white cardstock paper or white paper that insert that came with the set, but I'm not sure I like that paper. So, but it'll be about this size, and those will be the two signatures or the two inserts I carry with me. This is the one that tends to have more illustrated journaling. There's more art and stories and photos. And the one that I will make with either sketch paper or graph paper will be my personal morning pages / brain dump journal. That'll be private for my eyes only kind of thing. And those are the two that I'm planning on sticking into this book, attaching a new elastic cord, and that's what it looks like for now. So stay tuned for a couple of videos. I will post a video of the supplies that I'm taking with this journal, and by that point I should have the whole setup complete, so I'll do a quick show of what that looks like. If you have any thoughts, any questions, any comments, would love to hear them. Please let me know in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching again, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.